Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, smashing envy, strong style, cinema, filing, X-Men 97, episode 5. Let's geek about it for a few minutes. Now, I usually don't do spoilers, or try not to, light spoilers. I'm trying to give you like a blow-by-blow accounting of the episode. But for this one, we're going like, we gotta dip into spoilers. So this is your warning. If you haven't watched the episode, which you should be watching the show anyway, but judging by reactions that I know you're seeing on your message boards and your Reddits and your Facebooks and your Twitters, go watch the episode because goodness, um, I mean, just wow. And it felt like I'd seen somebody on my Facebook post that all the drama and stuff, they felt like it was an episode of like Young and Restless or whatever. And it felt like a lot of stuff packed in there, but it didn't feel overstuffed. I don't know, something about it. I don't know whether or not it's just our investment in storyline, the benefit of having this rich history of the star-crossed lovers that Rogue and Gambit appear to be in the comic book series. We know they've gone through stuff in the comic books and they've gone away from each other and stuff like that. But pretty much for the the cartoon, the animated show, it's been pretty much like them. And the idea that Gambit is just full on in love with Rogue. Rogue is like feels mostly like pretty much like the same way, but she feels it a little bit differently because um, she can never touch uh, Gambit, can never really feel that skin on skin contact, and she. I like the fact that they immediately dealt with it, and maybe it's the smaller episode counts. We only have like 10 episodes for the first season. I like the smaller episode counts because there's not a lot of just time to kill with filler episodes, and that goes with like other live action like streaming shows and stuff like that. Because before the Netflix shows, a lot of that was like this lag in the middle because they had to fill that 13 episode count. That's the one thing I like about the Disney Plus shows. Is some shows are um 6 episodes, some episodes are 8, some episodes are longer, shorter, whatever. It's like they're tailoring the episode count to the storyline as opposed to just, all right, we've got 13, we've got to fill all 13. So I like that aspect of it. I feel that's a benefit here because we're not dealing with a bunch of filler. We're getting right to the heart of the matter. Like if there's more episodes to have maybe this um, secret Rogue Magneto relationship, which happened before the X-Men when Rogue ran away from home and got with Mystique and was trying to hone and refine her powers and stuff like that. Maybe that would have been drawn out a little bit longer with more episodes. So I'm glad for that. But kind of getting ahead of things. So in this episode, Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit are going to Genosha. Genosha is this free mutant welcoming society. They're about to be made into a officially recognized nation for the United Nations, which is a huge bold step. It's like we're taking strides towards like Charles Xavier's grand vision of mutants and humans coexisting, like finally happening. It's like taking place. It's like the Magneto made a comment in there that him and Charles were meant to carry the dream, but they weren't going to live to see it, which in this case Charles does not. Um, I mean, does Magneto? I don't know. But um, everything's cool. Everything's just great. It's all mutants, all everywhere. Nightcrawler comes back. There's some cameos from some other mutants. Glob, who I don't know for, I guess, just wasn't in a run that I uh, had read. There's Pixie. There was Archangel was in it. Exodus was in it. And I'm kind of wondering if the chick in the dreads, that's where we see at one point in time, if that was Frenzy or not. Um, Stuff like that going on. Moira McTaggart, Banshee's there. They've created this council, this governing council that has Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost on it. And then their grand plan is to have Magneto basically rule Genosha. Um, it's kind of made it like they kind of made it seem like he'd be more like a figurehead than like an actual sort of power having, you know, ruler. Magneto wants to have Rogue by his side, which gets into Rogue telling Gambit about the history of her and Magneto. And Rogue kind of tells her, or Gambit tells her that, like, she's hung up on being able to touch him, being able to feel him. And, like, she even makes the comment that you light up everything you touch, but never me. And it just, man, the again, it's just knowing the history between those two. Uh, that was just a great scene. Even again, if the actress playing Rogue, her Rogue voice is not as good as it used to be because I mean she's older. But I mean I don't think it took away from the moment and the interaction. And Gambit's just like some things are deeper than skin. Um, and he's like, "Cool, we'll be I'll friend zone myself." Deuces walks out, but he's still torn up by seeing like Rogue come down looking amazing in the dress and dancing with Magneto. They're all like kind of like sex dancing. And it ends up with them like kissing, and then Gambit's like, "Oh, f this, I'm out." And then Rogue kind of like backs off from him, and then shit hits the fan. We see some warnings. We see Madeline is feeling something telepathically get at her. Jean Grey back on back at home is feeling something, which we haven't gotten into that whole freaking drama fest with her and Scott. And of course, simp ass Wolverine has to try to stick his nose into it. Now that is a love triangle I am over and done with. But they're feeling stuff. Turns out it's Cable. Cable's like come back to try to warn them about something. He gets body slid back to wherever, and then this crazy kaiju level Sentinel attacks Genosha, wipes it out, kills countless mutants, and Genosha's no more. It's kind of like I'd seen some outlets kind of saying it's basically like this show's version of the Fall of Genosha storyline, which tracks, works, is cool. Yeah, some great moments in it from Gambit, from Rogue, from Magneto trying to save the Morlocks. At one point in time, they're cornered, and Leech says, "Hey, Magneto's going to come for us." He said, Leech would never have to be afraid again. Gambit gets down there, pulls him out. Sentinel's like, the Kaiju Sentinel is, trying to annihilate them. Magneto's putting up a shield, and presumably gets killed. Rogue goes ballistic, tries to take it out. Gambit saves her from an annihilation blast, and then he goes at it, and dude goes out like a boss. Yes, Gambit goes out like a boss in this moment. And once he got stabbed, in one moment he gets stabbed and he gets held up in front of the Sentinel, and then he uses his power to just destroy the Sentinel or whatever. And he says, remember it. The name is Gambit. Remember it. That sort of throwback line that he used in the old series and used it here. And the name of the episode is called Remember It. And then Rogue at the end is holding him, saying that she can't feel him, which is oh god, it's a heartbreaking sort of moment at the end. But that was just the way it was done, the way it was carried out, the way it was acted, the way that they shot it, the way they cut it. It was just fantastic stuff going on. And I commented on a few friends' Facebooks, I was legit Infinity War kind of shook after it. The fact that they did that. Apparently Watcher was seen briefly. I didn't see that until I'd seen an outlet posting about the Easter egg stuff, because I didn't know all the cameos. So I was like, okay, look at cameos in the episode. And the Watu was there, so that's how you knew some shit was gonna go down, and it did. My only concern for this, and I've seen it posted on some Reddit threads, where some people are kind of theorizing that since Cable is involved, and Cable means time travel shenanigans, that maybe he goes back, because he's trying to go back and warn them, that maybe he goes back further and warns them, and they're able to get out of it and stuff. I'm hoping that does not happen, because, like I said, the way, Magneto and Gambit both went out like bosses, true friggin' bosses in this episode. Just emotional gut punches from them, more so Gambit, I think, than Magneto for a lot of reasons. mostly concerning Rogue. And again, like the long term story, we're getting strictly in the animated series continuity universe between Rogue and Gambit. Um, to undo that sacrifice that he made, this epic shining hero moment that he had, I think that would be a true travesty. It'd be cool because I know some people are like, some people are like, they're mad all day, it's this and that because Gambit was their boy and stuff like that. I mean, I like character of Gambit. He's never been like one of my top faves. I don't even know who my top favorite X-Men are. I need to like sit down and do a list of that. Just keep it X character specific. Might do that sometime. And some people were saying they hope Cable like undoes things, but I'm like, no, like it just like this was an epic moment, an epic sacrifice, in an epic show, and you should just leave it alone. Let the story play out for the rest of the season as well as season 2, which we already know is coming, with the ramifications and the fallout. Because this show is about, as much as we want to see it's steeped in nostalgia and relive the glory days of the show from before, we still need to move forward. So I think, again, like I'm tired of the whole Scott Jean Wolverine thing. We need to move forward with that. With this, I mean, Remy and Rogue have been going back and forth about this for years. So let's figure a way to move forward. So taking Gambit totally off the board and seeing what's going to happen to Rogue, I think, is a good move in this. And then you took Magneto as well. So how's she going to react to it? Remains to be seen how it all plays out. But again, this was just a fantastic freaking episode. I'm just geeked for episode 6. I'm hoping, like, because this felt like a sort of like, I don't want to say like mid-season finale type of episode. Since it's episode 5, there's 10 episodes. I'm hoping that there's an episode next week. Check the calendar. I think there is. I think they're just going with no breaks. Hopefully. But this was just a fantastic episode. An emotional gut punch. And I'm just excited to see just where they go from here. The fact that they did what they did here, like, means that, I mean, people aren't safe. Characters aren't safe. And I think that just, to have people not be safe, I think that is definitely a good thing to have for this show. It brings more interest because there's more unpredictability in it. So you feel like, actual peril that the characters are in because, shit, they took them two off the board. They took Xavier off the board. Like, who else is, like, safe? Is anybody sacred at this point? Probably, the original simping triangle of Scott, Jean, Wolverine. I'm sure they're safe. But everybody else, are they safe? But anyway, great, fantastic episode. Just plain and simple. But those are my thoughts on it, scattered as they often are. What do you guys out there think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Until next time in episode 6. How do they follow this up? What is Geek?